Mark is the head of learning at the Uspire group, which he co-founded 8 years ago. Uspire mentors commercial leaders, energizing them to transform their people and their businesses. He also runs Augmenta, a successful consultancy firm with a truly global client list, which he founded in 2002. I first came across Mark when he ran one of my graduate induction workshops when I joined Whitbread over 25 years ago, which seems a long time ago. Mark, it's great to have you here today, and thanks ever so much. I know you've got a lot on, and I appreciate you giving us this time. Can we start by briefly describing what Uspire does and what unique challenges the executive learning industry is facing in this current crisis?
Yeah, delighted to. I'll tell you what we don't do, Rob. Let's pick a skill. You wanted to be better at mountaineering. What we don't do is take you up a mountain, show you that once and say, right, you're a mountaineer. And I think a lot of training orientated businesses do that. What we do is we create in you, the leader, the ability to be a guide, to be an educator, so that there's a legacy of learning in your business. And we call it champions. So we create internal change agents who are champions, and then we move out. So that's what we do and we're passionate about. What are the challenges of that? Well, more than 90% of the way we used to do that was a face-to-face mentoring of leaders and champions, commercial leaders, as you say. And that's not possible now. So the big challenge is about how do you make face-to-face learning virtual immediately, because my clients need support now and they're not waiting for me to be able to get back on a plane. So that's a massive challenge for anyone who does face-to-face learning like we used to do.
Sure, and I can imagine, having attended some of your workshops over the years, a lot of it is about that face-to-face rapport and passion. But having said that, some of the work you've been doing with your Boostcast of late, have really managed to connect. So I think that's a testament to how you've adapted. You've had a really interesting career, and I mentioned earlier that I briefly kind of shared some of it a long time ago, but we've stayed in touch. And I'm fascinated, and I know our viewers will be as well, in understanding how your experience over the last 20 or so years and the crises you faced along the way, because every business does do that, how you've learned from those and how those experiences of the past have really compared with this crisis we're in now.
Yeah, wow. I reflect, first of all, you said over 20 years. Over the last 20 years, I've recorded how much traveling I've been doing. I'm very fortunate, Rob. My customers are global. I love traveling the world and learning about different places and cultures. So normally, over the last 20 years, I'm on a plane long distance, at least once a week, usually twice. So that's Asia, Americas, etc. And therefore, I'm going to talk about two elements of what you asked. One was about what have I learned in those experiences that I can apply now. And I'll give you a very specific one. We work within the tourism industry, is one of the sectors we work in. We work in multiple sectors. And the tourism industry has been vulnerable, as you would expect, in major cities to that terrible thing called terrorism. So I've worked with clients where the terrorist threat has been incredibly real, and that's a trauma. That's a major issue, a bit like the pandemic. And so preparing for the potential of a terrorist attack and then managing it if it happens has been a tremendous learning for me about calmness under stress. So let me give you an example. We work with an amazing company called Big Bus Tours. They're in 25 major cities around the world, and they do a guided tour of the city. Fabulous way to see a city. And they have a fabulous operation in Istanbul. And we did some work with their leaders around how do you manage in a crisis. And Burak, who's the leader there, amazing human being, he created a scenario that says, if we have a terrorist attack in Istanbul, how do we react? And there was a bomb in the square where the bus was actually going round the square when the bomb went off about 150 meters away. The driver, on a relatively low salary for what he was doing in the greater scheme of things, immediately contacted Barack in head office and said, I've told the passengers to stay on board. We will keep them safe. We will take them back to their place of residence, hotel or home. We will then come back to the square and help the emergency authorities manage any of the injuries. Now, a driver of a bus who might have started his job thinking, I'm just a driver, to have that level of presence and communication ability, simply awesome. And so those are some of the experiences that I bring to this situation that says calmness, clarity, and communication are more vital than anything.
Wow. I mean, that does bring it home. And when you gave me that quote a few weeks back about your travel and the hours you do, it is a hell of a jolt, this. And it does bring it home in terms of the experience you have across the world. But we are all, in various ways experience the same thing. Uspire, and from my perspective, I've always seen as a very progressive and engaging business in your sector space.
Thank you.
So I'm really keen to understand what steps you guys have taken to mitigate this crisis. What have you been doing differently to maintain the relevance?
Oh, it's a great question, Rob. And I'm very fortunate. You and I have someone that we work with who's chairman of our business and has worked closely with your business, called Colin Wright. And we're so fortunate to have someone so experienced at managing challenges in businesses. And Colin has really helped us focus on the now, and that's manage current contracts and relationships smartly so that you bring value right now and prepare for next. So one of the things that your business does brilliantly well is help businesses strategize for next. And so we have a very clear view of what are the major things we need to focus on. So one of them, and it's just one example, is we have but we've added to our existing portfolio of offerings, which are mainly face-to-face. Every single one of them you can now use by online. So Presenting with Impact is a package which we now run in a series of 30-minute virtual sessions. So we've done that with all of our product base. Our next phase is selling that, because no one knows that except some of my clients. But my non-clients, prospects, why would they know? So we're now gearing up to get that message out there so people can go, oh, that's exactly what I need. So we're very proactive, thanks to having Colin's advice, really.
That's a good shout out, and I think typically modest of you, because I know how much you and John drive that, and with your great team that you've pulled together over the last few years. Rob,
can I just mention Jonathan? Jonathan's my business partner. He's our MD, Jonathan Bruff. Jonathan has been fantastic. He's got a great process-orientated mind. So we're already buying equipment to show our customers that we are protected and they are protected. He's an engineer by background, so he has made protective equipment for us and for delegates at the point at which we do face-to-face training again. So I'm very fortunate to have Jonathan as a partner as well.
That's great. That's going to be very reassuring to some of your clients, I'm sure. So sort of switching tack a bit, this is a question that I've been asking some of the guests, and not everyone finds it easy to answer, but I somehow think you can. On a more personal front, how has this affected you as an individual, as a person, as well as the leader? But on a personal front, how are you coping?
Wow. Do you know, it's been profound, Rob. You and I are both parents of teenage and 20-year-old. I think your oldest is 20 now.
Yeah.
And there's no question. I mean, we talked about how much I used to travel. I was away for 3 weeks or 2 weeks at a time, and I would see my wife and my kids fleetingly. I now have the extraordinary experience of seeing the people I care about most on a daily basis, except James, who's in LA working. And what does it help me do? I am much more mindful of communications with the people one-to-one, and so I listen better, and I don't try and preempt or interrupt as much. I'm not saying I've completely become this wonderfully mature listener, but I'm way better than I was. I mean, way better, scarily.
I like that. And then finally, I guess the killer question is, what do you think the next 6 months are going to bring for Uspire and the business landscape? And it's a kind of two-part question. And what have you learned in this lockdown that you really want to retain and keep when everything goes back to a normalcy that we all hope it will?
I know when I've been asked a great question, and you'll have seen this, I keep looking up because I'm accessing my creative brain to answer those. So these have been brilliant questions, Rob. I'm going to share with you a mantra that is relatively new for me because it's in this pandemic. And the mantra is three things. It's different doors, different shores, and less is more. And what I mean by that is I'm passionate about learning from different cultures, different shores. And so an example of that, and different doors, is new customers, new relationships. And one example is I've through the pandemic, I have started coaching a leader in Colombia, which is extraordinary, the internet, what it enables. And he is such an extraordinary human being. He's focused charitably on helping more Colombians get access to medical support. And his challenge is in society in Colombia, there's a nervousness about coming out and being more open in society because of the past culture of cartels and drug lords, etc. So he has a huge challenge, and I'd like to go and help him physically. So that's a new shore for me. I've never been to Colombia. And the less is more comes back to my point about, can I provide learning in a more bite-sized and effective chunk, be it in person or virtually? And the answer is definitely yes. What have I learned? I've just put myself and our whole team on a program called Master Trainer, which is Institute of Leadership and Management led and accredited, because we have time and space to put ourselves back to school.
But they do need to be able to see your face.
Thank you.
And you're where you are now, because you're sitting back, not forward, you're in shadow.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's dark today. You've been a lot better on the Boostcast, so you've obviously been using some lighting.
Yeah, Tom's got lighting.
Yeah.
So Tom,
yeah, the shirt is really good today.
It's neutral.
Exactly.
Could it be any more bland?
Other days it's not really good.
Could it be
a lot of feedback about
bland?
the Boostcast shirts. There's been a lot of feedback.
Yes.
And one of the other things to think about, you've got gap behind you on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too low.
Yeah, I know. I stuck it up, kept falling down.
It needs to go up a foot.
Doesn't it?
But that was for you. Don't take that the wrong way. I was really impressed with that you were very much in control of yourself, keeping a very still face, asking an open question, and let people talk.
And I've learned so much about how to do that better. That thing I've been doing for 20 years that I used to very recently think, oh my goodness, I'm good at this. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how much better should I be? And I've been given a lot of rigor around how adults learn that has challenged so many of the old behaviors, that it's stimulating to think there's so much more that we can do to be better. And I've got colleagues like Amanda Downs and Chester Robinson, who you know, who are extraordinary partners on this journey of self and collective learning, that I'm just excited about what happens next. We as a business need to change. Our revenue stream has fallen off a cliff, I think it's fair to say. And we're so focused on improving ourselves to help others that I'm confident we're going to get there.
Thank you. I mean, I think that final point so typical of you in the way you were always very self-aware, always looking to learn, and I think that sums up the Uspire brand. Hey, it's been great chatting again. Thank you so much. I know you've got to get back to it, but I just wish you all the best. Hope the family's okay, and let's long look forward to the time we can have a proper beer together, not virtually.
Indeed.